Hello, everyone, and welcome to this recording of the 80/20 event that Ian and I put on in November. This talk is titled Strategy Meets Social: How to Win in 2026. I'm Jag Panisar from Xpand, and I'm joined today by Ian Kirk from Opportunity Marketing. So let's get straight into it. Over to you, Ian.
Right, thanks, Jag. So, yeah, first of all, the first question I want to ask you to ask yourselves is if your marketing budget dropped by 80%, where would you focus your efforts? So, just have a minute sort of thinking about that. Um, the chances are you've jumped straight to thinking about activities in terms of which activities you continue, and that's a sign that you've not really got the focus on the wider strategy. So, where I would focus is on the client segments that buy the fastest or spend the most money, those different client types, promoting those products or services that are the most popular or most profitable, focusing on concentrating on the messages that prospects can remember and repeat easily, and focusing on communicating the one position that you own sort of in the marketplace. If you could just click on Jag. Yeah, but so this is what you should be doing anyway. This is the point. And this is what having a marketing strategy is all about. So we should be doing all of these things. And I'm just going to run through now what sort of a marketing strategy will entail. So today we're going to focus a real life case study as we work our way through these slides. So we've got a company that a few of you know, 888 Safety and Training. Just to give you a bit of background, the startup phase of the business are probably going in the first 18 months. Focused a one-man organization at the moment, focused on building a new client base, is invested in a website, a bit of money in a website and a bit of networking activity. But from a marketing perspective, that's pretty much what they've been done. A bit of social activity, but not much so far. So we're going to have a look at how reviewing them from a strategic perspective can then filter through down into social activity.
Solar 7 is generally a framework that we've created at Xpand that we tend to work to. So I'm going to quickly talk through the overall framework and talk about how this applies to what we're going to be talking today. So Solar 7 outlines 7 stages to achieve return on investment in your business. So I'll talk through each stage. Stage 1 is discovery. That's all about understanding where the organization's been, where it is now, where it wants to go, who the audience are, who the competition are, and really getting under the skin of the people behind the organization. Once you have that information, stage 2 is all about collating the strategy. So once we know what the goals are, we will do all the research around the competition and create the audience information, the audience personas, and create a detailed plan of everything that needs to happen on a month by month basis. The strategy captures all activity that needs to take place in order to achieve the goals that you've outlined at the discovery stage. So once you've created the strategy, that moves on to stage 3, which is at the heart of the model, which is brand and content. Your brand is so much more than just a logo. It's all about how, it's all about the positioning and how your brand sits in someone's mind and how it makes them feel and all those kinds of things. Content is also really fundamental because that's the bit that really communicates with your audience. So once you've got your brand and your content right, stage 4 is like the sun in the solar marketing system. You would move onto your website and you would put all that information into the website. And then stage 5 is what we call the planets. So each one of these are ways that you would drive traffic to your website. So that might be getting to the top of Google through search engine optimization and pay-per-click, social media, email marketing, advertising, or PR. And the idea is that all of these work in unison with as much resource as you have available to put into any of these, whichever is suitable based on your target audience, and they work alongside each other to drive traffic to your site. The orange ring around each one says content. Just as content is fundamental to your overall marketing strategy, it's just as important for each of the channels. The example I always give is you could be posting on social media all day, every day, and saying nothing. You need to know who the audience are and what kind of content is going to resonate with them. And then you need to get that out there and put that across the right kind of channels. Stage 6 is about reviewing and measuring all the activity that you're doing and kind of having the right key performance indicators in place. What you want to do is you want to fine tune the good stuff and obviously possibly even further fine tune the bad stuff, that's ultimately what is then going to lead you to your return on investment. So today we're going to be focusing around discovery. That ultimately what this covers is discovery and strategy, and then it's going to talk specifically about social media. So that's a bit of an overview of the framework that we're working to. Over to you, Ian.
Yeah, so as Jag mentioned, the strategy is the discovery and strategy is the starting point, and there's quite a lot that goes into sort of marketing strategy, but I've simplified it into four key pillars for this presentation because these are the four that are most relevant to feeding into deciding what you're going to do social media wise or any activity for that matter. And those four key pillars are what, who, how, and why. So what, in terms of your offering, your products and services, who your target audience is, sorry, how you're competitively positioned, and why. What's your messaging all about? How does that resonate with people? And then how that translate into activity. So if we can move on to the next slide. Yeah, so pillar one, clarity of offering. So this is your products and services. So really, these are questions to be asking yourself about your own business to get some clarity around what your proposition is. So first of all, what are you selling? And what's more than that is what is your core offering? What will you become renowned for? If you're not renowned for anything specifically at the moment, what do you want to become renowned for? How is your offering segmented? So think about when a customer visits your site, how do they find their way to the product and service that's of interest to them? Is it an easy journey for them? Also things to consider, which products are the most profitable? Do you have an idea of which products most or services make the most money and which don't? Like we mentioned in that early 80/20 question, you want to focus in on those products and services that make you the most money. But then there's also products and services that aren't as profitable, but they're an easy foot in the door with a new client. And once you're in with a customer, you can open up opportunities from within that to sell the most cross-sell and upsell, the most profitable products and services that you've got. So when I talk about clarity of offering, the image on the right with all the sort of colors is quite often how people start off. They may not have if you think of each color as a different product or service, most people when they set off in business don't have this many. They may have one, two, three, maybe up to four products and services of different colors. And then over time, as they see revenue generating opportunities, they'll add more products and services to their mix. Unfortunately, what usually happens is they don't stay clearly segmented in different colors like that. They all get merged together and they end up like this big lump of brown. And from a customer's perspective, they can't see what it is you're offering. Is a bit confusing. So by keeping the offering clear, it makes it much easier for people to buy. Next slide, yeah. So how we've applied this to 888. So 888 as an organization, when I sat down with sort of Matthew, was generating a hell of a lot of training inquiries. And it turned out the training courses weren't really the key thing he wanted to offer. Training courses were very time consuming. They created capacity issues. But when you look at his marketing and his branding, he feels like a training focused organization. Just on this screenshot, you've got the logo up there, which is 888 Safety and Training. It's there in the name of the company. If you look at the navigation on the top, training and courses is got primary positioning up there as a main navigation for service. Training again is one of the main headlines on the landing page of the website, and it's also referenced in the sort of smaller text to the side as well. And even the imagery looks like someone's being trained as well. So actually, he was generating lots of training inquiries, but it wasn't the focused service that he wanted to push. But when you look at it, it's no surprise that that's what he was getting. So what we've done on the next slide is we've recommended actually sort of a branding shift away from 888 Safety and Training to 888 Safety Solutions. So we feel that this brand encapsulates more of what his core offering is. And the core offering is clearly sort of separated into two areas. There's health and safety and there's fire safety. They're the two sides of the business he wants to push. You can see training still in there in both sides, but it's not front and center of everything now. So what he really wants to push is that the consultancy in terms of audits on the health and safety side, an outsourced offering with different levels of packages as an outsourced health and safety officer, and a compliance management system and training. On the fire safety, risk assessments, documentation, again, compliance management system and training. So it's really clear now what he does as a business. Next slide, please, Jag. So the next section is understanding your audience. And this is one of the areas where lots of people are really reticent on terms of naming and defining target audiences because they're worried that it alienates people that aren't in their target audience. However, from a marketing perspective, you only have a limited, finite amount of resource to spend on sort of communicating. So you want to be really clear about who you're communicating to. So if you haven't got clarity yet on who your target market are and who your audience exactly is, think about these questions. Who currently are your customers? Where is your business coming from currently? Do you want more of those sorts of customers, or is there a slightly different shift in who you would like to attract? Describe in detail what your perfect customer looks like. Think about the demographics, the industry type, the geographical location, the size of organization, it could be demographics of an individual. It could be an age, a sex, an interest. It could be all sorts of different things. Who would you like more of? So what sort of clients are great clients for you and why? And where could you find more of them? And understanding how they behave and buy. Different customers will engage with you in different ways, from undertaking their research of selecting a service or product to then go the purchasing process and actually what drives them to buy from a specific company over another. So if you've got a good understanding of all these things, you can really nail down who the audience is you're talking to. So from AAA's perspective, oh no, sorry. First of all, so it's all about fishing in the right place. So basically, I'm not a fisherman. My fishing knowledge goes as far as watching, Bob and Paul Whitehouse goes fishing. But I do understand that in different lakes you get different types of fish, and to attract different types of fish, you need a different bait on the end of the line. So all this is about is making sure you're fishing firstly in the right place, the right location. So when it comes to social channels, the right social channel, and that actually you're putting the right bait on the hook to attract those fish. So from 888's perspective, they were getting lots of small projects, shops, takeaways, etc. Again, a bit like the training, they were quite time consuming and not overly profitable. However, they've picked up two or three sort of really good clients in the following sectors: warehousing and logistics, engineering and manufacturing. And they really want to attract more of these sorts of organizations because they're much larger, they have ongoing health and safety needs, they're much more likely to need health and safety support on an ongoing basis. So there's retainer opportunities. They have moving machinery, they have vehicles, they have lots of more health and safety requirements. So specifically, 250k to 20 million turnover is a sort of size of organization. It's going to have 5 to 200 staff if they're that sort of size, which means they're big enough that they can invest in outsourced support on an ongoing basis, but they're small enough that they haven't got anyone in-house at the moment delivering it to them full time. And specifically MDs, if you just drop, MDs and operations managers specifically are his target job role within those organizations. And in terms of the disc profile, which Jag did at the last 2020 did a presentation on, D's and I's are the top axes on the disc profile. So D stands for dominant and I is influencer. So these personalities are the types of people that are more likely to purchase these products and services. So pillar 3 is your positioning. So how are you competitively positioned? Now, there's a good chance that not many of you have ever done this before, because quite often when I work with companies, they've not gone through this process. So this is an example of a competitor positioning matrix. So basically there's two axes, and what those axes can be Depends on you and your industry and your marketplace, but they need to be opposites. So, for example, the example I've shown is the canopies industry, and we're showing companies with a wide range of products and sectors in terms of their customer base and the services to a narrow range of products and sectors. So that's the axes going across, and then going up north and south is whether the product they're selling, if they focus on the product at a technical level, or when they're marketing, they focus on a customer from a service level. And you can see there that you then plot all of the companies that you're competing against on that matrix to see where you sit. So for example, on this matrix, there's some clear white space on the top left and bottom right, which is a good place to be positioned because there's fewer competitors around there. If you're sort of bottom left, top right quadrants, they're obviously much more competitive marketplaces. So plot them out and see where you sit, and then work out is where you're currently sat where you want to be. We just jump to the next slide, Jack. So first of all, are you where you want to be? And have you made a conscious decision to position yourself there? Or has someone else positioned you? So by what other competitors are doing, have they sort of shifted you somewhere on the matrix? Once you know where you are, have a look at who you're competing against in your local vicinity on that matrix. And then when you consider those competitors, think about what differentiates you. And if you come to the conclusion that actually there isn't much that's different, well, what could differentiate you? Is there something you're currently doing that makes you different? And if not, is there something that you could do which could really differentiate you? So with 888 safety, from a positioning point of view, he wanted to align services with HR professionals. Quite often, it was being fed back that people were looking for health and safety and HR advice together. So he wants to build a partnership with HR companies, moving away from delivering free audits. So he doesn't want to be a sort of a cheap and cheerful offering. He wants to be high quality professional service, but friendly. Moving away from training as the core service. It is one of his services, but it's certainly not a core service. It's a support service. He wants to make sure his outsourced retained support is one of the core services with a range of different options. And then from a differentiator background, Matt, who's the owner of the business, used to be a fireman. So he's got that firefighter background, and he's got that real first-hand experience of seeing things that can go wrong, which is why he set up the business in the first place. And it's sort of his purpose of why he's doing what he's doing. So that's a real key differentiator that can really make a point of difference against competitors in the marketplace. And by specializing down in logistics, manufacturing, engineering, he can make his messaging much clearer to those audiences. So we jump to the next slide. So the final pillar is messaging. So this is your why. So when we come to messaging, these are the key things to think about what goes in here. So what is your purpose? Why do you do what you do? Why did you set up your business? What change are you trying to deliver or drive? So like I say, with Matt, the firefighter background was clearly part of his purpose moving forward of why he wanted to run a health and safety consultancy, because he wanted to see what he could see firsthand what happened to people that didn't take this stuff seriously. What are your core values as a person and as a business owner and as a business? You want those to feed through everything that you do and say. And when we talk about messaging, we're not just talking about words. We're talking about visuals and imagery and colors and all that side of things as well. What are your key differentiators? What are your customer purchasing triggers and drivers? And what languages do your clients speak? So you can see the first three pillars really feed into this pillar in terms of what makes up the messaging. So if you understand what you're offering, how you position, who your target audience are, you can then talk about what your messaging should be. So for 888, it was about protecting your business, and that is your staff, your premises, and your reputation. Reliable outsourced compliance partner available whenever required. Expert advice on tap. Great value and very cost effective versus an in-house solution. So great value is different to being cheap. So great value is actually in terms of if you're employing someone full time, it's going to cost significantly more money than it is to have an outsourced partner who's reliable. Legal compliance, peace of mind, help you sleep at night knowing that you're doing the right thing and you're looking after your staff properly. And then if anything goes wrong, they've got you covered. And the ex-fire service, like we say, just reiterating that again, has seen what happens when things can go wrong.
So, how do we apply all this to social media? So Ian gave a great overview of the core areas that 888 Safety Solutions need to look at. There are a lot of platforms to choose from. You know, you've got Instagram, you've got X, Facebook, LinkedIn. You've got loads of them. And these six that you're looking at here are just a very small handful of what's out there. So how do you choose? It's social media is becoming so much more fragmented. There's so many more options now. The positive of that is each platform has its own data and has its own user base. So you know, you get to choose kind of where your audience is. You've got more options now. The downside is it's just confusion. What you need to do is you need to make a choice based on your audience and the resource you have available and your business goals. So let's go back to 888. It's a one-person business, relatively new in business. He's got limited cash flow and limited time. I believe these last 2 points are probably a problem for every type of organization. Time and money are the most limited resources that we all have. So where does that point? What platform should 888 be using? The answer in this case is LinkedIn, and not even a company LinkedIn page. I'm talking about a personal LinkedIn profile, specifically just using that based on the time availability he has to kind of get his name out there and specifically reach out to people. So let's do a quick overview assessment of Matt's personal LinkedIn page at the time of doing this assessment. So if we just look at an overview in terms of, let's say, the image, a good thing for Matt to do will be to use a clear headshot, shoulders upwards, something that's a bit closer, so it's more legible. In this screenshot at the time, he hadn't made use of the banner image, which is prime real estate. It's an opportunity to put an image in there that kind of gets your message across, specifically a little bit more about what you do. And now that the messaging is something that was defined by Ian, that's something that could go in there perfectly. And then with the headline, you've got 220 characters. You can use that to speak to your audience rather than just describe what it is you do. Talk about what the outcomes are and talk directly to that specific audience, in this case, in the manufacturing or engineering sectors. In a nutshell, what you want to do is you want to complete all the sections. LinkedIn is, as a platform, it's the only platform in social media that will penalize you for not having everything complete. And by penalize, I don't mean it's going to, strike you down. It means you're less searchable. If you've got more information in all the sections, the very first thing you need to do is get that information in there, because it means you're searchable. Because once it learns the kind of people that you want to connect with, it will start making suggestions. So like I say, it makes you more searchable. So all the sections need to be completed. But what should Matt be posting on LinkedIn? He should be posting content based around the messaging, what we call content pillars in social media terms. And these are themes of the types of things to put out. So what I've done is I've taken the messaging that Ian put together and created a content pillar from each one. So I'll go through each one. So content pillar one, protecting your business. Protecting the messages, protect your staff, protect your premises, and protect your reputation. Why? The purpose of this pillar is to educate and remind business owners that safety isn't about box ticking, it's about protecting what matters most. And these are a few example posts for this kind of content pillar. So Matt could be posting real world examples of avoidable incidents and lessons learned. He could be posting things like, say, 3 small oversights that can cost your business its reputation, what protection really means in health and safety terms, and mini case studies showing how proper systems prevented disruption. So mini case studies, that's always a great way of showing, real examples of the way that he has protected people's businesses. So that's content pillar one. Content pillar two, based on the second message, your outsourced safety partner. So the message here is reliable outsourced compliance partner, available whenever required, expert advice on tap. The purpose for this is to position 888 as a trusted extension of the client's team, not just a consultant. So the way that Matt would get this across through the type of examples of this would be when a client calls at 6 p.m. on a Friday, we answer. That's just obviously one line, but you can really fill that out into a post. Another one will be why having advice on tap makes all the difference. Another one will be showcase ongoing partnerships or testimonials. We're there when they need us, basically. Testimonials are great. That's what we call social proof. If other people are saying good things about you, you need to get that on there. And in this case, testimonials from other outsourced safety, other companies that are using Matt as an outsourced safety partner. And behind the scenes, how retainer clients are supported day to day, that kind of content on social media works really well. If you're showing the ins and the outs and just kind of documenting daily activity, that's a great way of just building trust because you're keeping yourself out there regularly. And then content pillar 3, smarter value, not just lower cost. So the message that Ian outlined for this was great value and very cost effective versus an in-house solution. So the purpose of this pillar is to communicate that outsourcing isn't about cutting corners, it's about getting expertise and flexibility for less. So example posts for this could be things like why most companies overpay for safety they underuse. Here's what an outsourced solution gives you that an employee can't. A carousel is like where it kind of slides on LinkedIn. It's called a PDF where you can just kind of click on it and it moves different images to the side. You can have a side-by-side comparison of in-house versus outsourced benefits. The beauty of carousels as well is that it increases the engagement rate so people stay on the post for longer, which LinkedIn sees as a good thing, which means it pushes it out to more people. Another example, it's not about being cheaper, it's about being smarter. So straight away, these 4 examples here could be really built out into a full post, but that's the overall theme. Content pillar 4, legal compliance and peace of mind. So the message that Ian outlined for that was legal compliance equals peace of mind, helps you sleep at night, we've got you covered. The purpose of this pillar is to build reassurance and confidence in 888's thorough, proactive approach. Examples, post types, the compliance checklist that lets MDs sleep better at night. That kind of content would be probably quite interesting for the target audience because who doesn't want to sleep well at night? Explainer posts, how health and safety compliance protects contracts and reputation. We don't just help you meet the law, we help you exceed it. And what peace of mind looks like in health and safety terms. So again, examples of the way that this particular pillar can be built out and further developed. And then finally, content pillar 5, experience that saves lives. The message is Matt was an ex-fire service. He was an ex-fireman. He's seen what can happen when things go wrong. And the purpose of this pillar is to humanize the brand and demonstrate genuine experience-based authority. So example posts for this particular pillar could be, I've seen firsthand what happens when corners are cut. That's a real story to tell. Short stories from the fire service, non-graphic, focused on lessons. Why prevention beats reaction every time, and the real reason I started 888 Safety Solutions. So again, that's really getting the human side across in this pillar. And when you put all these 5 pillars together, when you've got a combination of these messages regularly getting through, that's the kind of thing that's going to make it memorable and really kind of cut deep into that specific audience that Matt is going to be looking to target. So to recap, the title for this is Strategy Meets Social: How to Win in 2026. Now, when you read the title, you might have thought, wow, okay, there's going to be all kinds of intricate things that we could actually put out there that Jag and Ian are going to tell me in terms of how to win in 2026. In this particular circumstance, this particular structure that we have come up with for 888 Safety Solutions is how to win in 2026. There are so many platforms out there now. There are so many things you can do on social media alone, let alone all the other marketing channels. There's probably overwhelmed with these kind of things. And the general kind of message here is, when you have limited resources, narrow down, niche down, and cut deep is the message. Which is, niche down to cut deep, especially when you're on limited resource. do a small number of things well rather than lots not so well. We see a lot of that in the social media world. People set up platforms, all kinds of platforms, and they're not using them. And all it does is kind of dilute it. If you can really own one platform, if that's all you've got resource for, that's better than just having a variety of them that you're not really spending a lot of time on. And then as resource allows, you can build out your activities. In other words, as you build the business and then let's say you're able to employ someone to do it or outsource it, that's when you would get someone in to say, right, okay, where else are our audience? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on TikTok or wherever? And build it out further and build out your presence. So when you think back to Solar 7, now there are numerous platforms and numerous ways you can drive traffic. Like I say, we were just talking about social media. We were talking specifically about LinkedIn. In this AI-led world that we're in now, AI draws, when someone searches a company or a service, AI draws content from everywhere at the moment as it stands. So really, just by being on one platform, you are actually minimizing your chances in terms of the amount of information AI is going to pick up. So that does contradict. I'm contradicting myself here a little bit. But the goal here is to take a step-by-step approach rather than trying to be everywhere out of the fear of, oh my God, what's AI going to do? Right now, the message is just narrow down, stick to one, do that one well, and as time and resource and money allow, build out from there. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can message myself or Ian directly, and we will be more than happy to help.